Welcome to Karma Chronicles. Please like the video and subscribe. Let's begin.
I was on top of the world, or at least it felt like it. I'd put in years of sweat and sleepless nights, working my way up from a fresh-faced associate to a senior associate at one of the most prestigious law firms in the city. It was a grind, but I was proud of it. I was smart, determined, and had earned every inch of that corner office. My career meant everything to me. I was on track to make partner. Nothing else mattered as much, or so I thought. That was before Alex. I met him at a friend's barbecue one Saturday evening in the spring. He had this easy grin, the kind that made you feel like you'd known him forever, and those eyes, warm and genuine, like he really cared what you had to say. The second we started talking, I knew something was different. He wasn't just some guy trying to impress me. He was real. We connected over everything: music, books, even our shared love of taking long walks in the city. It felt like I'd found someone who actually understood me. For the first time in a long time, I didn't have to be the perfect professional. I could just be me. We didn't waste any time. Within a few months, Alex had asked me to marry him. I didn't hesitate. I didn't even need to think about it. The moment was perfect. I was in love, and I truly believed he was the one I'd spend the rest of my life with. Engagement was a dream. Every moment felt like I was living inside a fairy tale. We even talked about moving in together, which for me was a big step. I'd always been fiercely independent, but with Alex, it felt like the next natural thing. It was supposed to be our start, our fresh beginning. Then I met his parents. They were everything I hadn't expected: warm, supportive, kind. I was used to people in Alex's position, the successful ones, the ones with high expectations, but his parents never once judged me for my career. In fact, they were impressed. They praised my work ethic, even encouraged me to keep climbing, no matter how demanding the hours got. It was a relief, a deep one, because I'd always feared that being a woman-in-law would turn people against me. But with them, I could be both successful and loved. They got it. They understood what I was doing and why it mattered to me. It was easy to picture a future with Alex, a future where I had it all: love, career, the kind of life you see in glossy magazines. I thought that was my happily ever after. But it turns out I was just getting started. Our wedding day was perfect, the kind of day you look back on and think, how could it have been any other way? The sun was shining, the guests were all smiles, and Alex looked at me like I was the only person in the world. It felt like everything had fallen into place. The law firm, the house we'd just moved into, the love we shared, everything was lined up just the way I'd always dreamed. Our apartment wasn't huge, but it was ours. A little two-bedroom place in the city that felt cozy, like a home, and not just a space to crash between work shifts. It had a quiet charm: wood floors, plenty of light, and just enough room to stretch out without feeling suffocated. It was exactly the kind of place I could see myself building a life in. Work was demanding, as it always had been, but I'd gotten used to it. There were long days, late nights, and weekends swallowed whole by case files and client meetings. The firm was high pressure, and I was always on. But Alex didn't mind. He stepped up. When I came home late after yet another grueling day, dinner was on the table. It wasn't fancy, just simple pasta or stir-fry, but it was enough. He'd keep the apartment tidy, handle the laundry, take care of the things I didn't have time to. At first, I didn't even realize how much I appreciated it. I was so deep into my work, into the rush of deadlines and expectations, that I didn't see the toll it was taking on me. But Alex saw it, and he never complained. He'd smile when I walked through the door, kiss me hello, and ask how my day was, like he genuinely cared. And I did care about him. We were a team. I thought we were invincible. But then, 6 months into our marriage, the cracks started to show. It wasn't anything huge at first, just little things, like Alex being a little more distant than usual, a few sighs when we were talking. It all came to a head one night after I'd come home late again, exhausted, barely able to keep my eyes open. "Grace, we need to talk," Alex said, his voice a little tight. He was sitting on the couch, his hands clasped in his lap like he was holding something back. "It's about my parents." I sat down next to him, rubbing my eyes. "What's going on?" "They're getting older, Grace. They need more help. I've been thinking, maybe it's time for us to move in with them. Just until they get settled. They're struggling with some health stuff. And I don't want them to be alone. I'm their only kid." I froze. Move in with his parents? That was the last thing I wanted. Our little apartment was our sanctuary. The idea of giving that up, of sharing a roof with Alex's parents made my stomach drop, but as I looked at Alex, I saw the desperation in his eyes. He wasn't asking. He was pleading. I don't know, Alex, I said, trying to sound calm. I mean, it's a big change. Our space. I know. But it wouldn't be forever. And we could make it work. Their house isn't that big, but if we renovate, we could turn it into something comfortable. I promise. It'll be fine. I looked down, chewing on the inside of my cheek. I didn't want to be the bad guy here. He was an only child, and his parents had done so much for him. For us, even. They'd been kind to me, welcomed me into their family with open arms, and the truth was, I didn't know what it was like to have aging parents who needed help. I couldn't imagine the pressure Alex felt, watching them get older and more frail. I'm just not sure, Alex. I mean, giving up our privacy, our space, it's a lot. I'll take care of everything. We'll make it work. Please, Grace, I need you to help me with this. The way he said it so quietly, like he was asking for my support more than anything, broke something in me. How could I say no? Okay, I finally said, my voice tight. Let's talk about it more. But I'm not sure how I feel about giving up everything we've worked for. Alex's face lit up, like the weight had been lifted from his shoulders. Thank you, he whispered, pulling me into a hug. You're amazing. I promise this will be worth it. The next day, Alex called his parents to share the news. They were overjoyed, almost too much so. His mom and dad couldn't wait to start planning. Immediately, they started talking about renovations, new rooms, a bigger kitchen, and an extra bathroom for us. The costs, they estimated, would be around $75,000. I didn't blink. I didn't flinch. I just nodded, even though my stomach twisted. I was already feeling like I was losing control over my life. But Alex was happy. His parents were happy, and I had to remind myself, this was for him. He was my husband. We were building a future together. But as the months went by and the renovations began, something inside me couldn't shake the feeling that I was slowly giving up more than just space. The renovations started in full swing. The walls came down, the blueprints spread across the dining table, and the workers were in and out of the house every day. It wasn't easy living in the chaos, but I kept reminding myself it was temporary, just a small sacrifice for a better future. Then, one night, Alex came home with something I wasn't prepared for. It was late, and I was in the kitchen, pulling together some leftovers after another long day at the office. He stood in the doorway, looking more nervous than I'd ever seen him. Grace, he said, rubbing the back of his neck, we need to talk. I set the plate down, wiping my hands on a dish towel. What's up? Alex took a deep breath. There's something you need to know. Something I should have told you earlier. My stomach tightened. I didn't like the sound of this. I've been talking to my parents, Alex continued. They've got a lot of debt, Grace, around $120,000. I blinked. What? Debt? Since when? Alex ran a hand through his hair, looking guilty. It's from medical bills and repairs they couldn't afford. They've been struggling for years, and I didn't want to burden you with it. I felt a rush of heat to my face. How could you keep something like that from me, Alex? I didn't want to worry you, he said quickly. But here's the thing. The renovations, they're only going to happen if we can pay off that debt. They can't afford it on their own. I'm asking if you could help. If we can pay it off, they can live comfortably, and we'll be able to stay in the house. It's the only way it'll work. The room felt smaller all of a sudden. My chest tightened, and my mind raced. I didn't even know where to start. The numbers were too big. $120,000. That wasn't pocket change. And I didn't know anything about his parents' financial struggles until now. Why didn't you tell me about this before? I said, trying to keep my voice steady. I thought we were in this together. I should have told you, he admitted, looking down at the floor. But I didn't know how. I was hoping things would work out before it came to this. I thought we could just keep going without bringing it up. But now, I'm asking for your help, Grace. My mind was spinning. I wanted to help him, wanted to be the partner he needed. But this felt like a lot. Too much. I had saved up my own money. Money I'd set aside for the future, for investments, for my career. I'd worked hard to build it. And now, I was supposed to dip into it for his family's debt? It felt like a risk. A big one. I don't know, Alex. This is a lot. I mean, $120,000. That's not just pocket change. It's my savings. It's everything I've worked for. Alex stepped closer, his voice softer now, almost pleading. I know it's a lot. But Grace, we're in this together. If we do this, if you help me, we can make it work. We can live in a space we both want, and my parents will be able to live in peace. It's not just about us anymore, it's about family. He was right. I'd always known that being married meant making sacrifices, but the weight of this felt different. I couldn't ignore the fact that if I said no, it would be a hard blow to Alex. He was already shouldering so much, and part of me, despite my reservations, didn't want to be the one to let him down. I sighed, feeling the weight of the decision pressing down on me. I need to think about this, I said, my voice tight. Alex nodded, relief flooding his face. I understand. Just think about it, okay? I know this isn't easy, but I promise it'll be worth it. I didn't sleep that night. I stayed up, staring at the ceiling, running the numbers in my head. $120,000 was more than I could handle on my own, but Alex couldn't do it alone either. His parents needed us. And if I didn't help, I could lose everything I'd worked so hard for. But if I did help, I didn't know if I'd ever be able to get it back. By morning, I'd made my decision. I didn't feel good about it. I didn't feel good about any of it, but I knew it was the right thing to do. Okay, I said, looking at Alex over breakfast. I'll help. I'll use my savings to pay off the debt. His face lit up, a huge smile spreading across his face. Thank you, Grace. Thank you so much. I swear I'll make this up to you. I forced a smile back, but deep down, a small voice whispered that I'd just stepped into something far deeper than I had expected. And as much as I wanted to believe it would all be worth it, I couldn't shake the feeling that the cost would be more than just money. A few months had passed since we'd moved into Alex's parents' house, and the weight of it all was starting to press down on me in ways I couldn't ignore. The renovations were finished, the space was better than I'd ever imagined, but something felt off. I couldn't put my finger on it at first, but the cracks were beginning to show. It started with little things. Alex had always been generous with his time and attention, but now it seemed like he was pulling away. He wasn't stepping up the way he used to, especially financially. I had been paying off his parents' debt for months, using my savings, and yet Alex wasn't contributing much. It wasn't just the money, it was the way he kept making excuses. One evening, after I had spent another late night at the office, I came home to find him lounging on the couch, playing some new video game. The sound of his controller clicking against the silence of the room hit me harder than I expected. It was the first time in weeks I'd come home to find him doing nothing. Alex, I said, trying to keep my tone calm, you haven't contributed anything towards the debt lately. What's going on? You said you'd help. He didn't even pause the game. I told you, Grace, I just don't make enough. The renovation and the debt, it's a lot, okay? I nodded, but the frustration was building inside me. I'm paying for everything, Alex. I've been covering the debt, and you're still not helping. What's going on with your salary? How much do you actually make? He shifted uncomfortably on the couch, not meeting my eyes. I've told you before, it's just not enough to cover everything. And my parents, they need me. I'm doing the best I can. Something in his voice didn't sit right. I had heard the "I'm doing the best I can" line 100 times before, and it always seemed to end the same way, me picking up the slack. But this time, it felt different. He wasn't being open. He was avoiding it. Over the next few weeks, it got worse. I started noticing things. Expensive gadgets that Alex didn't need, a new phone he couldn't have possibly afforded on his salary, the nights he was going out for drinks with friends when I was buried in work, paying off debts that were never really mine to begin with. It was the new TV, though, that really set me off. A flat screen, 75 inches of high-definition tech that he'd apparently bought for his parents' house. Alex, we agreed that money was tight, I said, holding up the receipt. How did we afford this? He shrugged, his face almost unreadable. I told you, I found a good deal. It's not a big deal. It's just a TV. A big deal, I snapped, heart pounding. We can't keep pretending that everything's fine. You've been spending like you've got money to burn, while I'm over here, bleeding my savings dry. Alex looked at me like I was overreacting. It's not what you think, Grace. I'm doing the best I can. You don't understand the pressure I'm under? You really think I'm doing this on purpose? I don't know what to think anymore, I said, feeling my voice crack. I need you to be honest with me. Alex, you need to explain where all this money's coming from, because it sure as hell isn't from your salary. He didn't say anything for a moment, and I knew then that something wasn't adding up. He was hiding something, and I wasn't about to let it go. That night, I stayed up long after Alex had gone to bed, searching through the paperwork that had piled up, the old credit card bills, the bank statements. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was missing something, and when I found it, hidden in the fine print of one of his bank statements, I couldn't breathe. There was a second debt, a larger one he hadn't mentioned. And it wasn't just medical bills or home repairs. It was something far worse. Personal loans, multiple, from sources I didn't recognize. Some of them were nearly a year old. I stared at the numbers for what felt like forever, the reality sinking in with every second that passed. The debt was bigger than he had ever let on, and I was paying for it. Alone. The next morning, I couldn't hold it in anymore. As soon as Alex walked in from his run, I threw the paperwork at him. His eyes widened, and he froze in the doorway. "Explain this," I demanded, my heart thumping in my chest. He gulped, his face paling. "Grace, I can explain." "Explain?" I spat. "What part of this is explainable, Alex? You lied to me? All this time, I've been paying off a fraction of the debt while you've been spending money like it's water. What the hell is going on?" Alex opened his mouth, then closed it again. "I didn't want to worry you," he muttered, almost too quietly. "The debt? It's a lot, but I didn't want to burden you more than I already have." "You've been lying to me," I said, fighting back tears. "All this time, I've been helping, thinking I was doing the right thing, and you've been lying to me." He took a step toward me, but I held up my hand. "No, I can't do this anymore. You don't get to hide things from me, Alex. Not like this." He stepped back, looking deflated. "I'm doing the best I can, Grace. I didn't want you to see me as a failure." I could feel the anger rising inside me, but it wasn't just anger. It was betrayal. The man I'd married had been lying to me, and I'd let him. I'd let him manipulate me, thinking I was helping when all I was doing was sinking further into a hole I didn't belong in. "I don't know if I can trust you anymore," I said, my voice shaking. "You need to figure this out, Alex. I can't keep doing this for you." He didn't say anything, just stood there, looking guilty as hell. And I knew right then that this wasn't just about money. It was about something much bigger, something I had to face before it swallowed me whole. It wasn't supposed to go down like this. I'd had enough of the lies, the manipulation, the endless promises, but I still didn't expect the world to come crashing down quite the way it did. That evening, I came home early from work. I'd wrapped up a case faster than I'd expected, and for once, I wasn't exhausted. I was even a little proud of myself. I'd been pushing so hard lately for them, and when I opened the door, I thought I might actually get a moment to relax. I didn't expect to hear voices, not at first anyway. I froze when I heard Alex's laugh. It wasn't the tired chuckle I'd heard 1,000 times, the kind that meant everything's okay. I'm with you. This was different. There was something in his tone, something sharp. God, Grace really has no idea, does she? Alex's voice floated through the hallway, and my stomach dropped. "What do you mean?" his mom asked, her voice light, like she was in on some private joke. "She's paying off everything, the renovations, the debt. She's been so caught up in helping, she hasn't even questioned it," Alex said, and I could hear the amusement in his voice, the way he was just laughing about it. I felt like someone had hit me in the chest with a brick. I stood there, just listening, not able to move. They were laughing at me, at me. "Poor thing thinks she's saving the day," his dad chimed in, a chuckle escaping his lips. "She's too good to question it. Keep saying how much she loves you, Alex." And that's when I heard the words I never thought I'd hear, the words that shattered everything. Alex's voice was quieter now, almost cruel. "Yeah, well, once the debt's paid off, I'm out. I'll be free. She'll be free. I'll let her down easy, don't worry." I felt the blood rush from my head. The room swayed, the walls closing in on me. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. The laugh, the way they all talked about me like I was some fool, like I was nothing but a tool to fix their mess. I'd been so blind, so stupid. I wanted to confront them right then, burst through the door and demand answers. I wanted to scream, to let them know how I felt, how betrayed I was. But my body wouldn't move. I was frozen. The worst part? Alex's words, the way he casually said he was planning to leave me, like I was some inconvenience he'd soon be done with, it hit harder than anything. My own husband had been plotting this behind my back. I wasn't just a fool. I was a mark. All this time, I'd been busting my ass, paying off their debts, doing what I thought was the right thing for us. And he He was counting the days until he could ditch me once the money was gone. I had to leave. I had to get out of that house, away from that situation before I did something I'd regret. Instead of barging in and confronting them all, I turned and walked out. I didn't care if I was being cowardly. I couldn't look at them, not right then. I had to calm down. I had to think. I drove aimlessly for a while, my mind racing. Everything I thought I knew about my marriage, about Alex, about us, had been a lie. He wasn't the man I thought he was. They weren't the people I thought they were. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about control. The anger simmered inside me, but as I drove, I realized something. I had been so focused on helping Alex, so focused on fixing his family's problems, that I'd forgotten about my own. I'd ignored my own needs, my own wants. I let them take from me. All this time, I'd been bending over backward for them, thinking that love and loyalty meant sacrificing everything for the people you cared about. But I wasn't just losing my money, I was losing myself. I was losing everything I had worked for. I had to change that. I couldn't keep living like this, trapped in a lie. I was smart, I was strong. I'd gotten to where I was because I knew how to take control, how to fight for what was mine. I had power. I just needed to take it back. I pulled into a parking lot and sat there, letting the reality of it sink in. I had to get out. I had to escape this mess. But first, I needed to figure out how. I wasn't going to make any rash decisions. I wasn't going to let them think I was weak. I was going to make a plan and I was going to execute it. This wasn't just about ending a marriage. It was about taking my life back. It was about finally standing up for me. And I was done letting Alex and his family use me. I knew what I had to do now. I just needed to get out. And I would. I didn't waste any more time thinking about it. The decision was already made. It wasn't about being angry anymore. It was about taking control, about doing what was right for me. I had let Alex and his parents use me for too long, let them think they could take whatever they wanted without consequence. It ended now. A few days after that gut-wrenching conversation, I sat Alex down on the couch. His parents weren't home, and I wasn't waiting for a moment when it was easier. There was no right time for this. "Alex," I started, my voice steady, even though I could feel the tightness in my chest. "I'm done." He looked at me, his brow furrowed in confusion. "Done with what?" "I'm done with this," I said, gesturing between us. "I want a divorce." The words felt like a weight lifting off my shoulders, but they also felt heavy in my gut. I had never thought I'd get to this point, but now that I was here, it was clear. This wasn't just about the marriage anymore. It was about me reclaiming my life. "What?" Alex stared at me like I'd slapped him. "Grace, we can work this out. I love you. This is just, it's all too much, I know. But I need you. We can fix this together. Please, I still need you." He was trying to pull me back in, trying to twist my guilt. The words came out desperate, like he thought that would change my mind. But it didn't. I'd heard all this before. I had been used before. "I'm done, Alex," I said firmly. "I'm not going to keep doing this. I've already done enough. I've given you everything. My time, my savings, my trust, and you've used it all. You don't get to guilt trip me into more." His face fell, and for the first time in a long time, I saw his desperation for what it was. It wasn't love, it was control. "I know it's hard," he said, reaching for my hand, "but we're married. We can get through this. I'll fix it. I promise." "No," I said, pulling my hand back. "You've had your chances. I'm taking back control of my life, Alex. That includes my finances. This house is in my name now. The debt is yours, and you're not getting any more help from me." His face twisted in disbelief, the anger starting to flash. "You're really doing this? After everything we've been through? You can't just walk away from me, Grace?" I stood up, my decision firm. "I already did. I'm not going to keep carrying you. You need to deal with your mess on your own. And your parents? They need to move out." His eyes went wide. "What? What do you mean, move out? Where will they go?" "They're not staying here," I said, my voice icy. "This house is mine now, and I'm not responsible for their debts anymore. They can figure it out. They've been living off me for too long." "I don't understand," he said, shaking his head. "Their family, Grace? You're just going to throw them out?" "You don't get to make me feel bad about this anymore, Alex. I've done more than enough for you and for them. I've given everything I had, and you've taken it. It's over." I could feel the tension rising between us, the silence thick with everything that had gone unsaid. And then his parents walked in, their smiles faltering as they took in the scene. "What's going on?" his mom asked, looking between us. "Grace wants a divorce," Alex spat, his voice rising in frustration. I turned to face his parents. "And you need to move out. I'm done paying for everything. This house is mine, and I'm no longer responsible for your debt. You'll need to find another way to pay it off." They stared at me, stunned. His mom's eyes welled with tears, and his dad looked like he might explode. "Grace, please," his mom said, her voice shaking. "Don't do this. You can't just throw us out. We've always been there for you." "No, you haven't," I said, my voice cold, but my heart racing. "You've been using me. You've been taking advantage of everything I've given, and I'm done with it. You need to figure this out on your own, because I'm not your safety net anymore." Alex stepped toward me, but I didn't flinch. I was stronger than I'd been in a long time. "Grace, please," he pleaded. "Don't do this. I'll change. I'll do better." "No," I said, standing tall. "You had your chance, Alex. You and your parents are all out of chances." His mom began to sob quietly, but I couldn't let myself soften. I had been too soft for too long. "I'm sorry," I said, turning to leave, "but this is how it has to be." As I walked toward the door, the sound of their pleading voices grew fainter behind me. But I wasn't turning back. This was my life, my decision, and I was done letting them control it. I knew it was going to be hard, but I also knew it was the right thing to do. It was time for me to rebuild, and this time I was doing it for me. The paperwork was more than I expected, but it was necessary. The divorce papers, the alimony request, the list of things I was entitled to after everything I'd gone through with Alex and his family, it was a lot. But once I walked into that lawyer's office, I knew I was doing the right thing. I didn't want to look back anymore, didn't want to second-guess myself. I sat across from my lawyer, her calm demeanor almost comforting. "We'll file for divorce immediately," she said, flipping through the documents. "And we'll include your request for alimony. Based on your contribution to the marriage and Alex's income, I believe you'll have a strong case." I nodded, feeling a strange sense of control as I signed the papers. My lawyer didn't ask too many questions about the reasons for the divorce. She didn't need to. She could see the financial mess. She could see how much Alex and his parents had taken from me. And now I was going to make sure they paid for it. "Also," I said, the words coming easier now, "I want his parents to repay the money I gave them for the renovations. I'm not leaving that out." My lawyer raised an eyebrow. "That's a bold request, Grace, but it's reasonable given your financial involvement. We can include that in the proceedings as well. If they're unwilling, we'll take legal action." It felt good to finally take charge. Alex and his parents had taken so much from me, and now I was taking back what I was owed. The responses from Alex and his family didn't surprise me. They cried, they begged. Alex even tried to guilt-trip me again, saying he still loved me, that I was being cruel by asking for alimony. His parents called me ungrateful. They accused me of being cold-hearted, of forgetting everything they'd done for me. "You're being selfish," Alex said one evening, his voice shaking with emotion. "I didn't ask for any of this. You don't have to destroy everything like this. I'm still your husband." "Not anymore," I snapped back, holding my ground. "You're not my husband, Alex. You stopped being that the moment you started using me and lying to me." His face fell, but I didn't feel a flicker of guilt. He wasn't the man I thought he was, and I wasn't the woman I used to be. I had changed. They protested, sure, but I wasn't listening anymore. Not to Alex, not to his parents. I had heard their pleas for months, and every single time, they were just a way to keep me in line. But not anymore. I was done being manipulated. I decided to sell the house. It had been a place where I tried to build a life with Alex, but now it just felt like a reminder of everything I'd given away. The house had appreciated in value, and the $100,000 I'd initially spent on it was nothing compared to what it was worth now. I knew it was the right choice, even if it was hard. The money from the sale would give me the fresh start I needed, the freedom I wanted. When the house sold, the process was smooth. The real estate agent was professional, and the buyers didn't blink at the price. I'd done well for myself, and the house, along with the alimony, gave me a clean slate. The day after the papers were signed, I packed up my things and moved into an upscale apartment, a place that was mine. There were no ghosts of Alex or his family in the corners, no lingering memories of broken promises. It was my space, my place to rebuild. It wasn't huge, but it was everything I needed. a cozy modern space where I could breathe without feeling like I was being suffocated by expectations. I spent the next few weeks settling in, making the place feel like home. I bought new furniture, new plants. It was a whole new chapter, and I was determined to make it mine. Financially, I was stable. I had my career, my independence, and my strength back. I was free. I ran into Alex once at the grocery store. He looked at me with a mix of shock and disbelief, like he couldn't understand how I had moved on so easily. But I didn't look back. I couldn't. I had worked too hard to get to this point, and I wasn't going to let anyone pull me back into their chaos. I was starting over, and this time I was doing it for me, not for anyone else. I looked out the window of my new apartment that night, feeling the weight of everything I'd been through. The betrayal, the lies, the heartbreak, it was all behind me. I was stronger than I had ever been, and I knew one thing for sure. No one would ever take my power again. It was a Saturday afternoon when Alex showed up at my new apartment. I wasn't expecting him, but I wasn't exactly surprised either. He had that look on his face, nervous, hesitant, like he wasn't sure if he was walking into a war zone or just a conversation. I stood in the doorway, arms crossed, watching him shift from foot to foot. I didn't invite him in. I didn't need to. "Grace," he said, his voice strained, like he wasn't sure where to start. I I need to talk to you." I could feel my pulse quicken. The air between us was thick, heavy. I didn't have to ask what he wanted. I already knew. The last time I saw him, I had made it clear that it was over. But here he was, showing up on my doorstep like everything could just go back to normal. "About what?" I asked, keeping my tone even. "There's nothing left to say, Alex." He let out a shaky breath. "No, there is. Please, just hear me out. I've been thinking about everything, and I know I messed up. I was confused, okay? I wasn't thinking straight. But I love you, Grace. I really love you." The words came out too easily, like he was reading from a script, and I could almost see him trying to muster up the same charm he'd used to win me over in the first place. But I wasn't falling for it. Not this time. "No, Alex," I said, shaking my head slowly. "You don't love me. You love the comfort I provided. You love that I took care of you. You love that I bailed you out of your mess. That's what you love." His face faltered, and he took a step forward, desperate. "Grace, don't say that. You know I didn't mean for any of this to happen. I didn't want to hurt you. I'm sorry. I just didn't know how to handle it all. I was scared." I stepped back, still standing in the doorway, and looked him in the eye. "You were scared? Well, so was I. But I didn't make excuses. I didn't lie. I didn't manipulate people to get what I wanted. You used me, Alex. You and your family. You took everything I had and I let you. I thought it was love, but I was wrong." His eyes filled with tears and his voice cracked as he stepped closer. "Grace, please, don't do this. I swear I'll change. I'll do anything. Just don't leave me. I can't lose you. I was confused, but I still love you. I need you." I felt the sting of his words, but not in the way I used to. It wasn't the same feeling anymore. I didn't feel pity or guilt. I felt nothing but clarity. "You're not going to change, Alex," I said, the words steady and firm. "You've had your chance, and I'm not going to be your fallback anymore. I'm not going to fix your mistakes or carry you through life. I've already done more than enough." He reached out to touch my arm, but I pulled away, not even looking at him. "Please, Grace," he begged. "Just one more chance. I'll prove to you that I can be the man you need." "No," I said, my voice hard, unwavering. "It's too late. You've already shown me who you are, and I don't need to see any more. I'm done." He started to cry, the tears slipping down his cheeks, his hands trembling as he reached out for me again. "Grace, please, I love you. I'm sorry. Don't leave me like this." I stood still, watching him. His desperation wasn't moving me anymore. The man I thought I knew had never really existed. The man who would leave me once he was done using me was the real Alex, and I wasn't going to let him back into my life, not for anything. I turned to walk away, heading toward the door to the kitchen. But just before I stepped through, I glanced back at him. "You're on your own now, Alex, and that's where you'll stay." I walked out of the room, leaving him standing in the doorway. I heard him call my name one last time, but I didn't stop. I didn't look back, and as I closed the door behind me, a weight I hadn't even realized I was carrying finally lifted. The lies, the manipulation, it was all gone. It was over. I was free. I woke up that morning, the first real morning of my new life, with a feeling I hadn't had in a long time. Peace, the kind of peace that comes from knowing you've finally made the right decision, even when it was the hardest thing you've ever done. I wasn't waiting for something to fall apart anymore. I wasn't holding my breath, hoping someone would come through for me. I had learned, finally, that I could trust only one person, myself. My career was thriving. The firm had taken notice of the way I handled the last few months of chaos. They respected how I stood my ground, how I made the tough calls without backing down. I wasn't just surviving anymore. I was succeeding. The high-profile cases were coming my way, and I was more than capable of handling them. The pride I felt in my work wasn't just because I was good at what I did, it was because I knew I'd earned it all on my own. No one else had pulled the strings for me. I had done this. Me. In my personal life, things were calmer. I had no more surprises, no more late-night arguments, no more figuring out how to make someone else's mess my problem. My new apartment was a haven, a place where I could finally breathe. I had filled it with things that made me feel good. Plants, artwork, even a new coffee maker that was just for me. It was simple, but it was mine. No one could take it from me. I'd lost a lot in the process: trust, love, time. But I had gained something far more valuable. I had gained my independence, my voice, my power. I wasn't afraid to stand up for myself anymore, and that felt like a gift I didn't even know I was capable of giving myself. There was no more second guessing, no more wondering if I was doing the right thing or if I was being too harsh. I knew I had made the right choice. And strangely enough, I felt a deep sense of gratitude for everything that had brought me to this point. The pain, the heartbreak, it had all taught me something. It had taught me what I was willing to accept and what I would never tolerate again. And most importantly, it had taught me how to walk away when I needed to. The future, once a distant, intimidating thing, now felt like a place I was ready to step into. It wasn't perfect. It didn't have to be. But it was mine, and that made all the difference. I closed my eyes, just for a moment, and let the quiet settle in. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel the weight of someone else's expectations on my shoulders. I was free, and I knew that no matter what came next, I could handle it, because I had finally learned to trust myself. And that was enough. With that thought, I walked out the door of my apartment, heading toward the future. My future, stronger, more self-assured, and ready for whatever came next.